When was the last time that you stopped to look at the starry sky, setting sun or a flower or a butterfly? When was the last time when something completely mesmerized you? Something so ordinary yet took you by surprise. Think. As sometimes such subtle moments change the course of time, and I believe that's what poetry do. Hello, welcome to the AS Words podcast, and today we are talking about how poetry might help you in this tiring world. Well, poetry is here from the time immemorial. Humans have been conversing the thoughts in the form of poems, the lyrical rhythms, for quite a long time. Poetry is music, and music is poetry, universal in its existence. Poetry helps you absorb and concise the emotions, as sometimes it is extremely difficult to deal with what you are feeling. Sometimes you just cannot give expression to some profound dilemmas of your heart. Poetry let you choose, let you feel, and sometimes help you to let you go. Grief, love, sadness, happiness. It gives you the definition of completion. Completion of thoughts, completion of moments, completion in the moments of emptiness and hollowness. It fills that unseen void of your soul. What you cannot say normally, poetry becomes that language that speaks to you. It becomes the courage. For me, poetry is like magic. Either you see the magic or you become part of it. When I read a poem, the experience of a poet becomes mine. Sometimes I laugh at them, sometimes I sit beside them, tell them that it will be okay, and sometimes I just assure them that yes, I understand. I understand what you are going through, I understand what you mean by that. Poetry helps me to have a perspective, it makes me hopeful, help me to take a pause much needed to see the life in different light with different lens. It's like the window to the subconscious, like flowing water. I find poetry flowing everywhere. In the mountains, in the touch of soft green grass, in butterfly wings, or in the aching heart. Poetry makes the world beautiful. Poetry makes the world bearable. So why not climb a mountain with a poem? If you find yourself hopeless in the sheer need of your own acceptance, read a poem or two. You will see how the microscopic moments becomes the life, how pointless of a thing becomes a change that you have always wished for. Read a poet, doesn't matter modern or classic. You will find somebody somewhere from the ages ago to till now knows you, or maybe you know them. Poetry shows you the vulnerability of human emotions. It helps you realize the emotions that are foundation of your very being. How you will wonder that poetry might help you or save you? Okay, for a moment, think of a mountain. You are standing there, looking at the clouds, the view of the city, soft breeze, swaying trees and birds flying in the distant sky. You might wonder how insignificant your existence can be, just as a little speck of dust in the universe, as they say. But how do we explain that feeling? How you will give words to it? Here comes the poetry, a chance to dive deep in the moment and feel every bit of it. Not just the insignificance, but also the significance of witnessing the surreal, of being on this planet. Poetry makes the journey uphill easy and enjoyable. I don't know how many of you read or write haiku poems, the Japanese art form, but one thing that it has taught me is to pay attention to what surrounds you. From an insect to the stars to the space, like a snapshot, a moment in words. Until you realize you become the part of the poet's world, but the world is partially created by you yourself. It's your experience, your interpretation that makes the poem complete. And as a poet, you let the reader decide on what journey they want to go with that poem. I would like to talk about a few haiku by classic Japanese poets. These are translated version, of course. The first one is by Basho. From time to time, the clouds give rest to the moon beholders. The second one is by Kizo. First autumn morning, the mirror I stare into shows my father's face. And here's the last one by Isa. The fly, just as lonesome as I am in this empty house. You can feel the depth of these little poems. They carry so much meaning. So, read a few poems, let them talk to you, take a pause, feel the moment, feel the necessity to realize that you are alive. Simply read poetry and see the world slowing down in front of you, changing and shifting. Oh, I highly recommend you to check out a few TED Talks on this very subject. The first one is by Burt, Why You Need Poetry. And the second one is Everything You Need to Write a Poem and How It Can Save a Life by Tysdal. I'll link these in the description box. So I'll take my leave here with these lines that I've written myself. Every poem in itself is a star in galaxy that a pen creates when poet drifts into the world, in which the definition of world changes every instance. You were listening to AS Words podcast. I hope you like this. Stay safe and stay healthy.